Okay, so I'm about to go into the mold house and show you what it looks like, and I want to show you everywhere that we've looked for mold and the things that we've done in this process in the last 8 months. So I'm gonna put my mask on and you'll have to talk a lot louder through it, but it still works. So. All right. So I have a note too so I can remember what I'm saying. So when the first person came in, they looked everywhere. The company, they did their mold meters, which is a moisture meter, to try to figure out anything had moisture. And they went throughout the entire house and couldn't find anything that had any moisture that showed any obvious mold. So at that point, the fogger, he basically convinced me that when we did our carpets, when we took out the carpets, that maybe it caused kind of like all the spores and everything from carpet that kind of lives in our carpets, just kind of created this big upheaval in there, and that's why I was sick. And that there wasn't an actual source because we couldn't find an obvious source. So he said they would fog the entire house, and they ended up spending about 14 hours in our house. They had about 7 people or so, and they cleaned the whole house all over, and then they fogged it with this special fog that's supposed to kill all the spores. And then I should be able to move back in afterwards. So we went that route, and it was kind of a pain, but we thought it would be worth it. It was under about $4,000 as well, but it was worth it so I could live back in the house again. As I said, I had started living in the tent in the beginning of July, and this was August. So I'd been in the tent for a month already. So we came home from the fogging, and I slept in the house the next night because the fogging smell was a little intense for me. So I moved in the next night, and within 24 hours, my whole body felt like it was being poisoned. The pain and the migraines, the brain fog, like, it was pretty crazy. And so I knew that I needed to go back out in the tent again. So I did, and I waited for a test to come back, and the test showed the mold was just as high still. And it serves me right because my doctor told me to not go with the fogger, because like my husband's trying to tell people that it's like not showering for weeks and weeks and then trying to cover it up with deodorant. The fogging is like the deodorant. If you don't actually find the source and get rid of it or actually shower, you're not going to be able to get rid of the problem. So we then called our insurance to see if they could help us, and they sent some people in to see if they could find anything. And their a restoration, they deal with like floods and fires and things like that. So they came in, looked all over the place. They did their same meters, and they couldn't find anything obvious either. It's not like we have black mold like on the ceilings and the walls and stuff. It's not an obvious situation. So then we had to leave because this guy had some experience from all the other houses he had done. And I'm going to show you where he ended up looking. Underneath the kitchen sink, there's this little tiny vent right there. So he removed that, and on these sides right here, he saw that there was some water swelling, which means that water had gotten into this area. And this sink had flooded at some point. The dishwasher has leaked at some point. And we've had the fridge leak at some point as well. So that made total sense to us that there could be something under there. But just by opening up the cupboard, you couldn't see anything. But he got permission from the insurance to rip out this whole cupboard. And behind all of this, underneath that original flooring, because these floors are brand new, and he ripped all that out, and they found some underneath that cabinet kitchen sink. And then they went over to this Lazy Susan, and it was on the legs of the Lazy Susan behind this board right here. And then it skipped the stove. There was nothing underneath the stove. And then it was also on the legs of this one as well. So what they did is they sent in their team. I can't breathe in my mask. They sent in their team, and they removed all those cabinets right there and all the way right here. And so we had 2x4s holding up the granite countertops at this time. They took them back to their shop and they cut off all the mold. They cleaned it. They put a plastic partition basically from this wall all the way to that door. And they started their work to clean up the mold, spray it, do everything that they do. And so it seemed like a great job, and I was going to be able to be back in the house again after a week. So I will show you the things we've done in between that process. If you notice, I don't have drapes because it's just another place for mold spores and dust to go onto. So I got rid of all of my drapes. And also, these plants are all fake plants. I had 2 really giant plants as well, but one mold person said that it's very possible for black mold to be my plants, so I got rid of every plant as well. In that process also, we got all the floors, cute puppy there, all the upstairs carpet was ripped out and put in wood floors because carpet can hold a lot of dust spores, mold spores. We also got a new couch upstairs and downstairs because they've been old ones. The fogger guy helped me buy this thing for about $1,000, but it's what they use in hospitals and things as an air scrubber, and it cleans my air all throughout the day and filters it from any mold spores. That's literally been running since July. So, and then in here, I'm trying to think of one thing that we have now is this mold killing spray and foot covers. So it seems weird, but if you want to come to my house, you need to cover your feet because shoes bring in a lot of mold spores. A lot of my pillows are missing right now because I've had to wash everything. He thinks I'm going to fetch with him, but I'm not. Sorry, buddy, not right now. So in the process when the kitchen was being done, we also found next to the bathtub, this white line is everything that's white is where we found mold. So the toilet is actually supposed to be right over here. But, so we had the company take care of this tub as well while we were in here. And then we also ripped up the toilet and found a little bit. And the sink, we didn't find anything, but at this point, the bathroom is pretty expensive to redo, so we're still working on that. And since we have no bathtub right here, we can actually look under here, and it goes to the master bathroom to see if there's any mold underneath that bathtub as well. And I hasn't found anything in there. So then, this used to be my master bedroom before tent living, and before we ripped up the floors, we had to get everything out of here. But it's now an air mattress for when my daughter comes from college. And so we've got throughout the bed, because it was an old mattress as well. We were just really trying to get rid of anything that could possibly create mold. So, and we'll go over to this situation right here is all my clothes, because our last attempt to remove the mold spores we cleaned every single part of the house. Still not doing it, buddy, okay? So we had about 15 people in here, and we used a special spray called Bad Axe Onslaught, and go in here and let the light will turn on. I'm trying to find the original bottle, but it's this purple stuff, and I'll link it, but we literally sprayed inside every cupboard, every single pantry, and sprayed every inch of the house from ceiling to floor and everything in between. It took about 8 hours to do that. But then we had to wash all the pillows, all the blankets, and all the laundry. I'll show you. Laundry is always going over here. So out in the garage is the disaster. So this is our mountain of laundry. We actually we had about 75 bags. These ones over here, these are garbage because we don't want to donate to the DI just in case there's spores. So keep that in mind when you buy things at a thrift store, that there could be spores on those. You can properly clean them with things before you bring them back into your house and possibly get spores into your house. The ones over there I still need to wash because we didn't have enough time. We don't want to bring anything that has spores back into the house that we just cleaned for 8 hours to get rid of all the spores. These ones have been washed and bagged and are clean. We're just bringing in like 5 to 10 at a time of the important ones. I literally can't find half my clothes right now, and I've given the kids a treat if they could find the dish rags because I can't find those either. So that's a little frustrating. But and everything to do in a day, I just haven't got back to bringing everything in. And you realize how much crap that you have that you don't really use or need, but you don't want to get rid of it. So it's hard, but we're getting rid of basically everything over on that side. And then another thing we had done is that little top right there, that's our attic space. And we had the mold specialists, the third ones. They climbed up into our attic space and crawled all the way to like the bathroom vents to make sure that there wasn't any mold that was maybe coming from a leaky roof. Still trying, huh, buddy? A leaky roof or something that was going into the vents. So my husband, these vents right here, we removed them and he sprayed them out with a compressor as well. We also had a duct company come in, and they went through and they cleaned all of our ducts. This was the very first process to get those removed, and they didn't find anything in there that was concerning at all. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but so yeah, we're at the point now where we have done everything that we can. We've had the companies come in, no one could find anything. So we don't know if there's another source or if it was just the spores that were remaining on surfaces from this big kitchen project, because they forgot to tell you the fun and extra part. So it's been a long 8 months in processes. So after they got rid of this area, they went from, the insurance company sent the company that did the mold removal from here to there. And I moved back inside, pretty excited to sleep inside again. And within 24 hours, I got really sick. Again, very noticeably sick. So I told my husband, on his day off, to rip out the dishwasher and to look under these cabinets as well, and to look under the fridge as well, which doesn't make sense to me why they didn't do that in the first place. But according to insurance companies, they're only, according to the claim, they can only pay a certain amount. It has to be one source. And I'm thinking, just find the mold, and they're thinking what qualifies on the claim. So it was really frustrating. My husband removed the dishwasher and found a mother load of mold under there. And so I still had no cabinets over on the other side. But then they removed the dishwasher and all these cabinets, and they were being held up by 2x4s as well. And then we looked behind the fridge as well, and this cabinet right here had mold underneath it as well as underneath the fridge. So all of those were removed, and they set up that plastic partition again, blocked off our kitchen for another week, which they could have done it in the same week if they would have done it correctly. So we ended up moving out for a week with our mother-in-law while they did that, because that was a lot of stuff going up. But most of the time, I am apparently a 20% that have the CIRS, the chronic inflammatory response syndrome, that triggers mold, that triggers Lyme. So there's only about 20% of the population that have that. So when I'm inside, it makes me really sick. Like it just makes all my symptoms just so much worse, with the joint pain and the nerve pain and the muscle pain, the fibromyalgia. My brain stops functioning. I just feel like just I can't focus, and then I get migraines as well. So I can't be in here for more than a couple hours. And so now that the house has been kind of cleaned out a little bit, and I feel like the spores are a lot lessened right now, I'm allowing myself a couple hours inside the house without a mask. And I want to save my mask-free time for tonight when the kids wanted to watch Groundhog's Day. So I'm going to try to wear it the rest of the time today when I'm making dinner and stuff. So when I come inside in the mornings when I get dressed, and when I'm preparing dinner for the kids, and like there's 6 kids, so everybody needs to be, put in order and chores and all that. So I try to wear a mask when I'm inside the house. But then at dinner time and shower time, obviously I can't wear a mask. So I take it off during that time. And I'm trying to think of, and as I'm doing all this laundry, trying to figure out where my clothes are at. Still working on that. But so now that we've done the cleaning it's been like 5 days since we've done this cleaning. And now the next step is to wait for the dust to settle, because the Hurts Me Too tests that I've done, that my doctors recommended for me, it's a dusting test. You take a rag and you dust the surfaces of like 10 different places, and then you send that rag in, and then they determine what level of dust, what level of mold you have in there, and it tests like the 5 most dangerous molds. And so my level was at a 24 this last time. We haven't gotten it to go down for a while. Every single time we've done a different company, a different remediation, it hasn't changed. But in 2020, my score was a 4. So something happened between 2020 and 2022, some leaking of some sort somewhere. So just look for water sources and look for mold anywhere that could have water. Because even though their moisture meters didn't detect any moisture, was because the problem had been fixed. We knew our sink had a leak, and so we fixed it. So there was no more, it wasn't giving any more moisture to it, but the mold had already been there, had already spread, and then it started drying. And so when they ripped everything up, it exposed all that mold even more, and it's just dry mold because we fixed the problem. But those dry spores are still harmful. So, but the moisture meters are useless in that situation. So, another thing I wanted to point out was that when they did, the insurance sent these people in and they fixed the first sink area. They sent in one of their environmental people to do a mold air test. And my doctor didn't support those as well, but the insurance is the one that it was their job to test in their way. And so he did a test right in this exact area in the kitchen, and he said it was mold-free, and it was safe to be back inside. So once again, I moved back inside the house, and And that's when I got sick that one time again. So also, I don't trust the reliability of the air tests, in my personal opinion, because he was literally 2 feet away from the mother load of mold that was underneath my other cabinets. So I don't really understand how they test, because it clearly was like, when you move the dishwasher, it was literally like black all over. So, and he said it was mold free. So I don't go by those tests. I do the Hurts Me Too test, or the ERMI test with the dust, because that's what my doctor is testing me on. So the next step is getting that test done in 3 weeks once the dust settles, and I'll be able to get my results. And if it's high, then we figure out the next plan, which is either rip off the siding off the house, or we just have to figure out how we're going to be able to move. And I don't know how financially feasible that is, but we've got to figure out our next plan when we get to that, because we're running out of options. And if it's under 10, then I get to come back inside, and that will be really awesome. But I have a hard time believing it at this point, because I've been told about 3 or 4 times that it's been safe to move back in, and I've gotten sick every single time. So, and the test scores have been high every single time. So, and when I get the test scores back, I will make a video of that, and hopefully it's an exciting time or a crying time. So we'll see. Either way, it'll be. I'll probably cry either way, because it'll be really exciting or really overwhelming. So, but if you have any questions about the mold process that we've been through, I probably sorry, I probably missed something, but just let me know. I am always happy to answer any questions, help anybody that's in the same situation. So.